What's up, Havelock? Welcome back to another podcast. Today we have both our cutest guest ever, but also most intimidating, and it is not Officer Frysiek. It's Rowan down here. I don't know if you can see him in the camera, but we've got our K-9 with us today. Officer Frysiek, welcome.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, man. And you brought Rowan, your sidekick.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to jump right into why we do what we do. Because if any of y'all at home have ever had a dog, even a well-trained dog, getting to just chill for 12 or 15 minutes is probably going to be a challenge, though he's doing fantastic right now. Tell me this, man. Why do we have a K-9 program at Havelock? Like, what do we do with the K-9?
Our K-9 program is primarily used to combat narcotics in Havelock. We have a drug problem. The whole country has a drug problem, and he's a tool that we can utilize. It works very, very well to get them off the street. He's also able to do tracking, and he's able to do article search, so he can find people if they get lost. He can find items if they get lost. Someone tosses something out the window, or they lose something in the woods, potentially he can go find it. But the primary use that I utilize him for is narcotics, working with our narcotics units and other patrol officers that need a dog to assist them on traffic stops.
Oh, so we're helping other organizations too, not just Havelock.
Mm-hmm. I've worked with Craven County. I've worked with Border Patrol, or Customs and Border Patrol down at the port.
Okay.
And I've come out with SBI. And then we've done saturation patrols where I've gone out in the county, and there's been all kinds of agencies out there. There's been Bridgeton out there. There's been Newbern out there. So we're all over the place. We get to work with everyone.
All right, cool. You've had dogs yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're a dog man. You're a dog guy. So what are some differences between Rowan being your dog, your day-to-day partner, and just having a pet dog? Like, well, how do you do that differently, or is it different?
It's very different. I work 24/7. When I'm at home, I'm still with him. We train pretty much every day, even if it's small things. He's not your typical pet. I can't love him all the time. I can't give him treats all the time. His diet's very strict. His where he lives is very strict. He lives in a kennel behind my house where I have to let him out a couple times a day, work him out, because he's so much energy. If he sat in that kennel every day, he would explode when he came out. So we got to run him around all the time, and he doesn't come in the house too much because he thinks that when he's not in his kennel, he's working. So he's immediately, if I brought him in my house, he's sniffing every cupboard and cabinet, and he's just trying to go to work. He does not have a chill. This is very unusual. He doesn't have an off switch normally now. Well, I think the environment has chilled him out a little bit.
Well, it's funny you say that, because when we came in this room, he immediately was checking the seat cushions and checking these mugs on the table, and you could tell he was working.
Yep, always.
So
every new place we go, he's working.
So you do sneak him treats every now and then.
Of course, yeah.
What's his favorite treat? Does he have one?
He's so recently when we all went out to what is that restaurant in Havelock, that little spot and restaurant? Oh no, I can't remember.
You talking about the Big Rock one over here?
No. The bakery that's over by Stratford.
Oh, the Carolina Cupcakes?
Carolina Cupcakes.
Oh, yeah, because they got those dog treats in there.
That's his treat. I didn't know that, but he devoured that thing faster than I've ever seen him devour anything. And, Now, that's for sure his treat. But he doesn't get too many, but that's the one, if there was one.
Yeah, so an endorsement by Rowan for Carolina Cupcakes homemade dog treats, right? The city, if you got a dog, you got to go get some. If citizens, the reason I asked you if he was different than all the other dogs you've had, when citizens see you out, like at the Chili Festival, or they see you at National Night Out, or they just see you walking through the parking lot of a shopping center, are there any rules our citizens should know about approaching you and Rowan? I mean, everyone wants to pet a pretty dog, and let's just be honest, Rowan's a pretty cute guy. So, what are the rules for our citizens?
I would never approach a police dog unless you have permission from the handler.
Okay.
Depending on the dog, you have some dogs are very aggressive. Some are trained to bite, some are not trained to bite. But at the end of the day, they all have teeth, and they're very, very protective. So if someone comes up to me when I'm sitting in my car, if they walk up to my vehicle, he goes off if I'm sitting in there, because he wants me to know that someone's coming up to his car, and he doesn't like that. Same thing, if I'm standing around in public and I got my dog next to me and you just walk up and stick your hand out, I don't know how he's going to react. He might, take a bite at your hand. He has moods, and sometimes he's really friendly, as you saw earlier. you can pet and love him, but sometimes he's not in the mood, and you know, I can tell by his behavior and his growls. He has happy growls and angry growls, and if it's an angry growl, you don't want to go near him. So, yeah, definitely need to make sure that I'm okay with that person approaching before they do.
All right, so officer first, dog second, always.
Mm-hmm.
And how long have we had Rowan?
Coming up on 3 years now.
And so that's the first time I petted him was today.
Really?
And I've been around you and Rowan multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
But if he doesn't approach me, I don't pet him, right? Today was the first time that he came up to me and was like, pet me. Of course, once I started, he was pretty stoked.
Yeah, you can't stop.
Yeah, he wanted to stay with it. How old's Rowan?
He is 6 years old.
Okay. Is there like a lifespan for how long they typically work? Like, do they have a retirement age, so to speak, as a dog?
Every dog's a little different. I've seen some dogs, you know, retire really early, and some will go to, you know, 9, 10 years old. It just depends on the dog and their drive and their health. He's super healthy and he's super high drive, so I don't see him retiring in the next, you know, he's probably has 2, 3, 4 more years, easy. But we'll see. He's getting a little gray in the face, so.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome, man. So when you started being our K-9 officer, you were here as a regular patrol officer.
Mm-hmm, I was.
What made you want to be K-9? And second part of that same question, had you been a K-9 officer somewhere else? I actually don't know the answer to that.
I have not. No.
So this is your first time as a K-9 officer?
It was, yep.
And why'd you want to do that? Why'd you want to just... Because this is a whole level... You said 24/7,
mm-hmm.
whole level of responsibility that a regular officer doesn't have to have. What made you want to do that?
Well, I love dogs. I've always loved working with dogs. Actually, when I first heard about the opportunity for Havelock to get a dog, I went to Craven County and I spoke with their handler there, Sergeant Hopper. And she was able to come to RPD and give them the information about this dog that we ended up getting. So the reason I did that is, as I said, I love dogs. And I primarily work narcotics. That's what I enjoy to work. I like to get drugs off the street, and dogs are a really good tool to have on the street. And I saw that Havelock, you know, could use a good canine on the street to help, and so I jumped on the opportunity when it came out.
And you guys do, like, I would say we wouldn't even be in this business if it really wasn't for Craven County and the opportunity to get this dog from.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys have had help from a lot of organizations, right? There are multiple animal organizations that have helped us, like, even to get, I think it's Kennel and and we've got a piece of equipment in your truck. So I brought up earlier, how do you treat the dog, about kind of where it lives, because I've had people call me like, do you know that dog lives outside? I'm like, yeah, I think that's kind of the rules. Like, it has to be that way. But also, when people see Rowan inside your vehicle in the middle of, like, today's 107 degrees in Havelock, they said it would be. So you have a special piece of equipment for that, too, to keep Rowan comfortable?
I do, yeah. We actually get complaints all the time. People calling and saying, hey, there's a canine locked in a car for me. Yeah, so he has it's called a hot and pop system. So there's temperature monitoring. I can always see what the temperature is in my car in the back where he is. And once it reaches a certain level, it will start to set an alarm off. If I don't fix that problem, it will set my sirens off. So my car will start blaring, the windows will drop, and a fan will come on and start blowing air on him. But typically I keep my car full AC blast all the time. My car's always on, running. So it's actually pretty icy. If you see me driving around in the summer, my windows will be dripping water down because it's so cold in my car. Because I got to keep it so cold.
Yeah, I've gotten that call. That's why I've had people kind of that I know text me and be like, hey, do you know your K9's in this vehicle? I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure he's supposed to be.
It's his home.
And I remember we had to, the extra equipment, that the cost, and that's why I say all these other organizations stepped in to help us with some grant money to do things like buy the box for your vehicle, the housing unit at your house. What about, like, fetch, man? Do y'all just, like, go in the park, you just chuck a tennis ball, or is it always serious training, like, got to find something?
No, we do a little bit of fetch, and he's a maniac for fetch. He will go until he drops. So you got to make sure you got water ready if you're going to start playing fetch. But no, it's good to burn energy, especially because in the back of that car, he's there for 10, 12, sometimes more hours in the car, and I got to get him out and work him a little bit just to have him blow off steam, or he'll lose his mind back there. So he loves fetch, he loves tennis balls, anything you throw. You could throw a brick and he'll bring it back to you. So
if you were to compare the amount of time you spend training versus the amount of time you utilize Rowan as an asset. So you talked about we're working with all these other organizations, including all the work in Havelock. What's that percentage like? What do you think?
We train a lot more than we actually utilize him on the road. We do 16 hours of mandatory training a month.
Okay.
So that's 2 8-hour days, some spread out normally on Mondays. Utilizations on the road, I probably, depending on the day, and I mean, depending on what's going on in the city, if there's special operations going on or if narcotics guys are out and about doing their thing, we'll have weeks where we'll utilize him 8-9 times, and we'll have weeks where we'll utilize him twice.
Okay.
It just is totally dependent on what's going on and how, active officers are on that given time. Our call volume, if we're loaded with calls, then he's probably not going to be getting to work too much. When we get our slower days and we're out pulling traffic and we decide we're going to go out there and try and get some dope off the road, then he's going to be out and working guaranteed. Every day that we've said that we're going to do that, he's out of the car and he's sniffing cars.
Okay. So from that I would say, is what he does a perishable skill? And so that seems like an odd question, but I guess my question is, are you training to make him better, or is it like you going to the range and all of our officers going to the range? If you don't do it, you actually are going to get worse as well. Is it perishable, or is it just getting better?
I mean, it is a perishable skill, absolutely. If you these dogs, if they were to get locked in the kennel for a couple months, they're going to be rusty coming back out. So it is a perishable skill. And then there's always room for improvement. I can improve from training. He can improve from training, especially when it comes to, looking for something like a residual odor. So if we'll take a sticky note, right, and we'll saturate it in the odor of a narcotic. A dog that isn't trained to find that finite amount of odor is never going to find it, right? So for us taking him out there and putting him in these scenarios where he can train around different, things like that, he gets better. And then on these cars, not every car is going to have an ounce of drugs in the car, right? A lot of them just have a pipe. And so by training constantly, he's able to find that pipe and not just the big things that are out here.
That is fascinating to me. We need to do a whole entire podcast on just the training, because that is so fascinating to me, because every dog has incredible sense of smell.
Mm-hmm.
But then to take a dog and heighten that so that he has a completely different skill than every other dog around him, that's pretty freaking amazing, man. That's an interesting concept in general.
It is, absolutely.
All right, man, anything else we want to tell the public about Rowan that we haven't already that you can think of?
Nothing comes to mind.
All right.
He's a sweetheart. He looks scary and he can be mean. Look there, he wants love now. There you go. He heard the magic word.
You heard the magic word. All right, well, I think for our citizens, one thing you've learned, while Rowan is very sweet in the right scenario, Rowan also has moods. And so always approach the handler before you approach the dog. Our K-9 program is about making Havelock safer, making it a better community, and doing it for those around us when we can help. And, man, we appreciate you being our handler.
Yes, sir.
Y'all do a phenomenal job. And, Rowan, thanks for coming and hanging out with us today. Till next time.